Yeah, it said recording in progress.
All right. Yeah, let me see if this works. So again, I'll just kind of reiterate a couple of things we talked about. So
Yeah. So let's start with dragging the club so I
yeah.
don't have the club head so far out.
So again, with that club, if your concern is, hey, the hands are going in and that club head's getting outside of the hands,
Uh-huh.
as long as you drag that club head low and long to the ground, it cannot possibly get out here. So the longer it stays in the ground, the better. Now, if you find though at P2 it's ever behind you, obviously that's no good, but lower and wider is better. And again, P4, we still want to have this idea that hopefully this is pointed somewhere down towards the ball. We talked about, again, the forearms.
Show me the exact point where you want me to start rotating the arms the other way. What point in the swing?
Forearm rotation is going to really start to kick in like after P3, and then it's going to be even more so in transition. So it's basically progressively more. At the very beginning, there's hardly any. At the very beginning, there's very, very little forearm rotation. But as the backswing progresses, there's more and more and more and more and more. And then even more so in transition. And then we talked about, like I said, you get the shaft shallowed out at like P5. I cannot shallow it out anymore from here. And that's why as I'm continuing to rotate, now the club an exit left, which I'll video of that. I'll include that in the summary, that shot that I made a transition. I was somewhere around like 64 at the top. And then by P5, I got it all the way down to like 43. Just accelerating like crazy. And then, again, I know I'm repeating myself in this, but it's not so much about worrying about ball contact as just going through these motions and making an effort to do it. Like I've made swings, and this is just a foam ball. I have made swings where I've like completely missed the ball, and that's okay. We want to get out of our comfort zone. Like if I'm going to the top here, all I'm trying to do is get some shallowing going on. So even if I miss the ball, I'm not going to be upset, right? It's like we're here. It doesn't really matter where the ball goes. I'm just trying to.
Is that shallowing move mostly from the right elbow moving in, or is it rotating the left arm up, or both? Or
it's really all the above. And again, so this is like those pump rehearsals is what I would focus on. But if you want the full explanation, it sounds like a lot, and it's like you wouldn't be thinking about all of this at once. But anatomically speaking, what's going on? The left forearm is pronating. Okay, the right forearm is supinating. The right shoulder is externally rotating, all while I'm getting more open.
Right. But I also noticed how you and all the other great players, how when they do that shallowing, it's almost like their hands are coming out a little bit. And mine, my old pattern, I'm down here. It's got to be
correct. And what you'll find, Brad, is as the hands move out, that will help facilitate
the shallowing. Yeah.
When the hands move out, that will help get the chest and the lower body actually open up more. So you can get that.
Right.
When the hands drop down like this, that's when I find people kind of early extending. So you're absolutely right. Now, where people got to be a little bit careful is if at P4 their hands are already out in front of them. If they just came out like this, now all of a sudden, we're way too steep. So if you're going to make that outward move with the hands, you just want to make sure that you're simultaneously kicking.
Right.
Because otherwise,
and I gotta say, and I gotta start from a deep position because, well, I guess my problem wasn't so much the top of the swing; it was the early part of the swing wasn't deep enough. So at the top, it's not going to feel that much deeper. Probably, it's just going to feel a lot deeper in the initial takeaway. Yeah. Because I noticed Lucas Glover
allowing your arms to get a little bit higher so that your left arm, make a turn here. I want that left arm in line with the shoulder, where your arms are kind of lower here. And again, from here, shorter the swing is, like the harder it is to have any sort of that dynamic kick or that dynamic shallowing.
Yeah. I guess that's because I'm trying to get so deep. That low and deep is easier to do.
Correct.
Yeah, it's easier to do this than it is to do that,
That though, like I said, is, the turning piece. And, it's not just a pure arm lift. Like you're going to be turning as well. So again,
Yeah.
that's with the head against the wall I talked about. This will help, this will help you work on your turn where you're not early extending, you're getting to that posture as well. So
The since we started chatting and talking about the early deep move, which is so obvious that that's such a breakthrough because my hands are here and nobody's there. They're like in here.
right.
But I noticed on Lucas Glover when he's super deep in here, but it almost seems like he's not deep at the top. Is that just an idiosyncrasy of him and not?
Yeah, his hand path is a little unique because he takes it in.
It goes in and up.
Yeah. Yep, his hand like in slow motion. It's like in, but then his hands almost start working. You're right; they're already starting to like loop out in this way.
Where shallowing is what they're doing.
Find as much that with Hogan. Like Hogan's a little bit more in and just he gets his right elbow to stop and then he squeezes in even more. So Hogan's like maybe a little more conventional in that sense, but
yeah,
that's a good observation, Mayo. You're right.
I'm 6'3", and just so you know, I mean, if there's anything unique to tall players, my clubs are a half inch longer. It's funny you said about standing further away from the ball. I feel like I'm way too far away from the ball, but and other instructors have said that I'm kind of slouchy and like hands low, and they're all trying to get me more like this, and I'm not comfortable with that because I've built my swing around my setup because that
it doesn't have to be a lot, but I just like at set up you're a little bit in here where it's like just stand maybe a little bit farther and just get the weight a little more in the balls of the feet. I would say again, it doesn't have to be anything that radical.
If I were to do a half swing with that shallowing drill, let's say here, I would go
right. Correct.
Okay, yeah, that is so awkward, which I'm thrilled because I'm so opposite. I know that an inch difference in swing plane feels like feet, so I'm feet away. It's got to feel wacko. Yeah,
you're 100%. You have to go a mile to get an inch.
Right. Yeah. So so that what you know now about everything about me, would you have started with that shallowing piece first, or the way we started taking it in, or both? Are they both about as important?
I think that starting by taking it in and just that whole shallowing move, like I said, if you go back to lesson 1 and look at that footage, it's like just where you were at the top would make it so difficult. So, I think this really does all synchronize into one thing. It's not like, oh, this is just one little move. It's a combination of things. If that makes sense. So
it feels like seeing you do that shallowing move was different than a zillion other videos I've looked. I mean, I've Googled shallowing more than anybody on earth. And and what I like about it, it looks like it looks like you're hitting a big cut, you know. I don't know. I guess I'm always trying to do this, and then up and high to the right, and that's not what I need to do at all.
Your hands are falling back behind you. So then from here, even if I could go from vertical to shallow, but if my hands are back here, the club would have no exit.
Yeah. Let me do a few of these shallowing things. Make sure I'm doing them right.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Great. Yes.
Is the hands high enough?
Let me do one more. It was better than the last one, than lesson 2, but. Perfect. Yep. Yeah, because in that one, your left arm was in line with the shoulder plane, which is where we want it to be.
So I've been probably not a good idea, but I've been researching the depth stuff. And one of the drills I found online, tell me if you like it, is to put your butt up against a wall and and then try to touch the wall with your hand behind you. But that's getting me low. So I need to do high and rotated, and back, right? High, rotated and back instead of
yeah. And like I said, the key though too is keeping that left shoulder down where you have a tendency to do this.
Right. Yeah.
P3,
Yeah.
you're tending to do that. So
demonstrate that drill now that we're on recording.
Yep. So if I were to grab my left shoulder, right, as I'm turning, I'm holding this down. So again, I'm keeping this left shoulder connected. So right here. So right now, this left arm should be in line with my shoulder blade.
Got it.
Yeah,
so
right,
if you,
and then I'll say, because again, you watch all. Yeah, go ahead.
If you take that lifting move out of my swing,
that's
going to make my swing feel shorter. It's going to feel shorter, right, and compact.
Correct.
I think that's a seeking depth move again, because I didn't have any. I've figured out all these different ways to get more,
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I got more than enough to work on now.
Yeah. And again, that's those rehearsals you did. Well, I'll send you the recording, but it's looking a lot better. A lot of progress. Like I'm throwing a lot of info at you. Like I said, if you were to hypothetically go play in the course tomorrow, it's like your one swing thought might just be the takeaway piece or hey, a little more forearm rotation, right? Like you can't. I always tell people you cannot bring more than one swing thought to the course.
Right.
It's cause more harm than good. That's why again the net's awesome, especially with the pause repetitions, because we've actually seen them make changes. And that gives us the opportunity, though, to, all right, our brain, when we slow it down and go through P1 through P7, which is impact, we can actually then dissect a little bit more.
Right. Last thing is every instructor has told me, because you don't notice it probably because I'm not from face on, is I do a lot of this tilting because I'm trying to shallow it out. So what would you like? Is it left shoulder lower, or is it right shoulder higher, or don't worry about it?
Yeah, so I wouldn't overly worry about that, but it's like right here again, first move with the turn, left shoulder down. I always tell people left shoulder towards the inside of the right knee. Mm-hmm. As I'm reversing and transferring my weight,
right,
my left shoulder. I'm just thinking here, if I were at impact, my right shoulder would be lower than the left.
Okay.
Just take a look at this on the full screen. Something again I probably wouldn't worry about because we already have tons of info. But it's like I'm making a good turn, boom. The hips transfer laterally, right? There's some also they're going to be more open. But like if this is here, we call this, let's say, a little bit of shaft lead. Let's just assume this. It's hard to see what this looks like. Let's just assume this is an okay impact position. I mean, my left shoulder is going to be higher than my right. I mean, on the way back, my left shoulder is absolutely lower than my right. Here, my left shoulder is higher than my right. I might have mixed it.
Yep. Right. Okay. I lied. One more thing. The and then when I'm going straight up and then rotating a little, is that really the beginning of that shallowing move, or is that one move and then the shallowing is another? Is it sort of like the beginning of it?
I mean, if you're doing a pause reps, it's good to break it down like that. But again, in reality, it's sort of like if we just talk about forearm rotation for a second, it's sort of like boom, more of it, more of it, more of it, more of it, more of it. We're pointing at the ball, and then more of it, more of it, more.
Oh, okay.
So it's really just progressively more. But what I see a lot of people do, Brad, is this. It's like they start, they get caught, they're doing it too soon. That's not the case for you. You are not doing it too soon. Like your swing historically has always been like here, right? Where there's not enough.
Well, the reason I'm doing that, why I'm not rotating, is because I'm trying to keep my right arm internal, because that's internal, right? But at some point you got to release the internal, you're saying.
Right. but so there's, you know, external, internal, but there's also then the supination and pronation. So the right shoulder is going to be a little more internal, but I'm also now starting to supinate the right forearm. And then from here,
Okay.
right arm supination and then more external rotation.
Right.
So part of it is forearm and part of it's forearm and part of it's shoulder.
Would you go as far as to say that I should feel like it's even a little laid off?
Yeah, when I start looking at some of your swings where you start to, at P4, anytime I'm looking at your swing and you're like 90, 80, or 70, you know, anywhere in that range, I can say, okay, let's try and get, again, this club pointed a little more at the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm trying to do what you said about bringing it up steep, but I'm never releasing it. I'm just keeping it steep, right? You want me to.
You want those forearms to rotate, yes.
Right. Okay. All right. I got it. All right. Beautiful. I hope I can see that recording. So.
Yeah. Rick, if this should work, no problem. Let me close out this recording, send it to you. If it doesn't, I'll do a voiceover, you know, synopsis of this and all that.
Okay. Great. Good.
All right.
I'm gonna give it some time to work on all that, and I'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
And
work.
Who do you want to win the Masters?
I'm pulling for. I didn't check the leaderboard today. I kind of like to see Max Homa win, but I think he fell off. Maybe I didn't see the leaderboard. I know he was doing okay, round 2 or 3, but
no, he's doing okay. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I like his swing. That's like you talk about swings to emulate. That's a perfect example of a conventional swing that I want to most people.
Yeah, he's butter.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
You bet, Brad. We'll be in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.